Hello, today's October 11th, and we're doing robot nonsense stories to end the week.
So OpenAI, no longer nonprofit, totally for profit. They're giving Sam Altman, was it 7% equity?
We seem to have shared that for the benefit of all mankind mission.
No, it is for mankind, but, Sam Altman is part of mankind, so it's really mostly for him.
He's the alpha and the omega. So that allows them to go out there and get funding. And they did so, fairly easily.
OpenAI gets $4 billion revolving credit line, giving it more than $10 billion in liquidity.
And they will burn through that in 3 months.
That's really not a lot of money when we're talking about trillion-dollar data centers.
Yeah.
They valued themselves at $157 billion.
They value themselves. That's okay.
Well, they're going to IPO, right? So the market valued them. People are willing to give them money as if they are worth $157 billion.
Let me turn that around. If you've got a spare, several $100 million laying around, imagine being able to pull a $157 billion company out of thin air by building a distributed platform for training and everything else. Eventually, enthusiasts are going to be responsible for training AI because we will only be able to do things at planet scale. But 1 million gamers training on 1 million GPUs probably would outrun the largest clusters we have now, maybe. Plus also some universities and people that are actually in it for the human good. And so, maybe one of those investors could spend a few tens or $100 million or so building the platform to make that happen.
Now, you might think that if someone gave you a fairly large chunk of $157 billion, let's just call it 20. Let's say somebody hands you $20 billion. You might just be like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much for $20 billion. But no, that is not what OpenAI did. OpenAI held the handshake, pulled them forward, and they were like, we have more terms.
The Reuters headline is OpenAI asked investors to avoid 5 AI startups, including Sutskever's SSI, sources say.
Is this going to be like the foundation of the antitrust case we see in like 5 years?
Yeah, they literally can't do this kind of thing. That is the textbook definition of anti-competitive. So that is one of the OpenAI folks who has gone home and taken their toys with them. They're building their own thing. OpenAI, this is Exhibit A in the antitrust trial.
Or maybe not even be 5 years. Maybe it'll be like next year. We'll see that
Maybe
case.
It'll be like 90 days.
Yeah.
So also Anthropic, which has arguably got a better product than OpenAI right now. XAI, which is the Twitter one, and
basically all the big ones you've heard of.
Yeah. Was it Meta? I think
Maybe.
Meta might have been in there too. So they're basically saying, I don't think this is binding, but they're basically saying we don't want your money unless we're the only one getting your money. Don't be trying to play the odds with us. And those Ray-Ban Meta glasses that we talked about in a previous episode, not only can they be very, very easily made into a nightmare of Orwellian surveillance, but they also will be contributing to the AI.
Meta confirms it may train its AI on any image you ask Ray-Ban Meta AI to analyze. Womp womp.
And when you ask it to do that, that voice line will also be training the AI. Any interaction you have with the glasses creates AI.
What if I smash it? That probably still goes into analytics where it's like the user got frustrated when they tried to do this.
That's definitely going on your advertising profile.
Yeah. Anger issues. Advertise therapy to them.
And this is an interesting one because this doesn't really track with what I've experienced at all.
Microsoft Copilot can now read your screen, think deeply, and speak aloud to you.
Oh, this is the wrong story.
I would dispute the think deeply part, but otherwise, turn the creepiness up to 11 there, Microsoft. It's like, surprise, what is that? It's like that warm breath on my shoulder. Oh no.
Microsoft stuff's been able to speak aloud to you for ages. Think about Microsoft Sam.
It's Clippy.
Fortunately, Sam and Clippy were so stupid as to not be threatening. Now, not so much.
Yeah, so this is just, they're basically doing all the things that OpenAI announced last week. Big deal. Oh, crap. I don't remember which story
Has anyone
it
tried to
was.
get it to say, my rafflecopter goes?
And everything goes into AI, and the companies that sell that are aware that people don't like it. So they come up with little games.
Massive e-learning platform Udemy gave teachers a Gen AI opt-out window, but it's already over. So if you got the email last week that said you can opt out, you have to opt out in the past.
So, like, there's the box here, but you see how it's kind of grayed out? It's because you can't click it.
Not a great disabled affordance.
You're not able to actually change that anymore. Now, there might be another window next year. Mark your calendar.
Yeah, because teachers aren't busy.
That's how our health insurance works, too. And Nvidia really, really going outside the norm here. Almost a Gaben move, although I don't think that their intentions are pure like his.
Nvidia just dropped a bombshell. Its new AI model is open, massive, and ready to rival GPT-4. I've only run a handful of queries through it, but it's the real deal. It's nice, fast, and pretty smart. It also has vision capabilities.
It's brilliant because they sell the hardware. So even if the world stops using the paid software as a service models, Nvidia still makes money. Arguably more. This is the one I was thinking about. This is the Microsoft one I don't agree with.
TechSpot headline is AI coding assistants do not boost productivity or prevent burnout, a study finds. Maybe if you're already a programmer at the level of Notch from Minecraft, if you ever watch that dude programming, it is a sight to behold. But listen, I can't remember all the syntax minutia, and I have a pretty good memory for things. And being able to ask AI, it's like there was like an obscure way to do this using like sed and piping this thing into like dpkg-get selections, and I don't really remember the details here. And it's like, oh yeah, here you go, I got you. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what I remember. Thanks.
I think the problem people have, I mean, the burnout thing, I don't agree. Yeah, I'm a sender. But when it comes to like it not being more efficient, I still think it's more efficient for AI to give me the wrong answer 3 or 4 times and me be able to identify that than have to go look up the documentation, which is always terrible.
One thing I have noticed is that if you have to work with idiots that are incapable of learning, giving them AI has been very bad, because the AI will be like confidently like, here you go, this is what you need to do to build that.
And they have no way of telling if it's real or not.
Yeah, and it is very hard to walk them back to reality.
Yeah, I've had that experience where I had someone who I was talking to was like, well, I see there's an AI tool for this. Should I use this? And I was like, you don't understand the basics of this. No, you should not use AI. You need to learn the basics first.
Yeah. AI, you have to think about AI as if you just have a helper.
Yeah.
Who you send off to do the basic tasks, and you always check their work.
The helper is a savant, but also kind of dumb.
I bet people who work with like mental handicaps and children like that would be really good at AI prompting.
Probably.
Because it's the same experience.
That's not quite right. Try again.
And this is an old story that has come back to haunt the cruise people.
Cruise hit with a $1.5 million fine for failing to report robotaxi crash involving a pedestrian. Why? Well, they did report the crash. That part of the headline is not accurate, but part of the inaccuracy was that it dragged the pedestrian 20 feet. Cruise left that out of the report, and for that has been fined $1.5 million.
That's small detail.
It craves blood.
It's also interesting here that the pedestrian was actually hit by another driver, which caused them to go into the cruise car's path. The cruise car stopped, and then the pedestrian was like wedged, and the cruise car is like, oh, the event is over, I can proceed now. No, there was a pedestrian there. That software was never designed to deal with such a weird situation.
You know what I forgot to add? Did you see the videos in San Francisco where people were attacking the self-driving cars? People were shooting video from, like, you know, they're doing the driverless taxi thing. People were shooting video from inside the window. It was like Jurassic Park. They were spray painting the doors and like banging on the windows, and just standing in front of it, it stops. So you're at the mercy of... There was, I think, 2 or 3 different instances where they attacked.
It's alarming.
I'm imagining like the T-Rex coming through the skylight, but it's like people.
And boy, if you are on the space station, I imagine that you are sleeping Velcro to the ceiling, but with a bit of a puckered anus, because there's a
That's
lot.
good, because then you don't have any leakage.
A lot of things to. Yeah, you don't have to use the robot vacuum.
NASA confirms the space station cracking is a highest risk and consequence problem. So there is a module. They've narrowed it down to the module. They think one of the welds is leaking maybe, but it's losing like a pound of air a day.
Wasn't it more than that? Like they initially
up to 2.4.
Yeah.
And so they haven't really narrowed down where exactly it is, but they're trying to figure it out, which is wild because my gas meter just mysteriously malfunctioned and had to be replaced. And when they replace the gas meter, they do a pressure test on your lines. And so my gas lines were not losing a pound a day. They were losing less than an ounce every 10 minutes, and they would not certify the pipes. And so it's like, oh, we're going to have to open the walls and rerun the pipes, and the pipes are a century old. Blah. No, when they took the meter off, they knocked the elbow at the end where it goes into the thing. That was the thing that was leaking. It was a thing on the outside, and they just missed it. The pipes inside were all fine. But that was still a 2-day ordeal, and that is a dramatically less leakage rate than what the space station is experiencing, and that is kind of horrifying to me for some reason.
But imagine if you were living there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to imagine living there. I don't want to be in there.
Actually, if the inside pipes had a natural gas leak rate that low, I wouldn't mind. That's fine. I could live.
I could tolerate
pipes
that.
can have a little bit of leak.
So that's the Russian section, and this is it's kind of like a hallway. It's like the space station equivalent of a coupler or something. And they're thinking that they might just seal that whole thing off. Nobody goes there ever again.
You would lose one docking port if you do that.
And moving on to nonsense, I like to start out nonsense with a little corruption and power. So let's just quickly run through some of the horror stories.
The headline here is sober driver arrested for DUI and thrown in jail because officer knew his brother. This has been a thing unfolding for years now. It's just straight up small town corruption.
All the chemical tests came back negative, as everybody involved knew. But it doesn't matter. Oh, I've lost my active tab. Here we go. And it's funny how we're all team childless here. But a lot of people are threatened by that. They don't like it. But sometimes they're a little hypocritical.
Childless Republican candidate poses with a borrowed family in a bizarre photo shoot,
They have a
according
picture
to the
in this
TV
article.
Fandom Lounge.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. There we go.
It's a borrowed family. All the gals are not his. They're a friend of his. And it wasn't just that picture. He took some other shots in the home.
Look at me. I'm the head of the household. I don't pay for anything here, and I'm not married to this woman. These aren't my daughters, but...
He has a dog, though. Like, wouldn't just a shot with your dog be...
Sufficient?
I would love to see a candidate with their pets.
That's actually really common. I think almost every president, except for Trump, had an animal. Like, there's always like a first dog or a first cat. Americans love animals.
This goes a little further down the chain than president. And Seattle is also, they have a bit of a record-keeping issue.
Seattle police have lost 23 guns, and they don't know where they went. Because, of course, they don't. Were they destroyed? Were they sold? They probably weren't sold, because the point of this program was to get guns off the street, but...
Who can keep track of these things? And this was maybe the funniest one of the week. And you should not be able to recover from this, right? Like, this should be the end of your political career, but it won't be.
Senator tells Native American candidate to go back to where she came from and storms out of a public event. This was embarrassing.
Also,
I'm secondhand embarrassed. It didn't even happen to me.
Also, she was not even up against him in the election. It was a different race. She was in a different race. She just made some comments that he didn't like.
You know, like when he said that, she was like, oh, hell yeah. Oh, he just put his foot in his mouth.
But also, you know, imagine how arrogant you have to be to not do a tiny little bit of research in the thing that you're about to go into.
Well, you see a lot of the protesters who are like, I won't say the words because we'll get demonetized, but they're like, one country should actually belong to these other people because they were there first. And it's like, bro, you're an American. You can't be saying that. And sexy Halloween costumes. We like to celebrate those. And this is definitely one that's very original.
The headline from Penn Live is Sexy Ozempic Costume Available This Halloween. Remember to consult your doctor. What? I have a feeling we've entered the nonsense section.
Oh, we hit it a couple minutes ago.
I don't think we can show that.
That's not that bad.
There
It's
it is.
kind of boring.
Now, they can't use the word Ozempic, so it just says, what does it say? Snatched?
Oh, because her waist is snatched.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to be sexy
$40.
Ozempic,
That seems like a lot.
It's a lot cheaper than Ozempic.
And you know they don't give you the shoes or any of the accessories.
No.
Probably
You just get
not.
the dress.
Yeah. Over in the UK, they have, it's a lot of people, and they live on a little tiny island. And you know what happens eventually there?
Graves could be reused under proposals to tackle the lack of space for the dead.
Metal headline.
So what I suggest we do is add another 4 feet of topsoil to the grave and just put the new tenants on top of the old tenants.
Couldn't we just cremate more people?
Yeah, let's just roast them. Just, as Frank Reynolds famously said, just throw me in the trash.
My uncle has said something similar.
Yeah, who cares? And I think for the rest of the year, it's a rule that we cannot go a week without some hot new Diddy stories.
He just keeps opening his mouth and making it worse.
He's desperate to go home, that's for sure.
P. Diddy promises to ban women from his home if he's released from jail in new plea, because he wants to await trial at home. And if you haven't been following this,
Ugh.
you should take a few hours, because
Just go down the horror show.
it's wild.
I think it was 120 new lawsuits this week,
Yeah.
and they make some crazy claims.
Even the prosecutors have had press conferences where they said, "Oh, there's a lot of names on this list, and we're just double checking this because it's so crazy if true." Okay.
Going to be interesting. Now, if you are a young person in America, you probably know how ridiculous the cost of an education is, or secondary education, college, university. And you would think when you're paying that amount of money that your living situation, you probably should get like a maid, right? A butler. Everything should be done for you. But the reality, much less glamorous.
The headline from the student newspaper is urine bottles in Hawkins Hall raise health concerns after sitting for over a month. So they mysteriously appeared, no one claimed them, and they remained in the common room for over a month because,
No one cleans it.
yeah.
No one cleans the common room at this school?
Well, if they did clean it, they overlooked the bottles of urine.
That's bizarre.
And it didn't even start out with all the bottles. The bottles grew over time.
That's worrying.
I have so many questions about this.
So did everybody involved.
Yeah.
No one knows who the urine belongs to. They could DNA test that, though.
Or, like, put up a camera in the common room to see who's
Yeah.
coming in at midnight.
That's true. That'd
I-
be a cheaper solution.
I saw this thumbnail and I thought Daft Punk was looking at art.
Well, they're not together anymore, tragically. When the world needed them most, they split.
You know what's great about this, though, is this is eye tracking MRI without an MRI machine. It's portable. Inner monologue testing. We got to look into this.
Real art in museums stimulates the brain much more than reprints, a study finds.
This does not surprise me, but
So yeah, they used portable imaging and it's like, oh, look at that. So they have some really interesting data now.
Something like 10 times more activity in the brain rather than, so that you could either look at the original artwork or a poster reproduction with a frame on it. So you're kind of looking at the same thing, but it still made a big difference.
if you're looking to do like an actual like formal analysis of a painting, it's always better to see it in person because there are certain like things with color and brush strokes and stuff that you're not going to notice in a reprint. Like they just can't capture it exactly the same. Like reprints especially struggle with color.
Do you think there's any placebo action here, though? Because they probably knew, right?
I mean, how do you not? Look what she's wearing.
No, but
She's
I mean,
got like a whole cap on.
they knew when they were looking at the real versus the reproduction.
Oh yeah, you would definitely be able to tell.
Interesting. We had that story last week about AI doing art reviews, and that's just like, how could it ever?
No, it can't.
And here was another great video this week that you should definitely check out about the octopuses. They use octopuses instead of octopi, right? I guess that settles that, at least in terms of NBC.
Terrible editor, NBC.
But it's a great video.
Octopuses, octopi, seen hunting together with fish in rare video and punching fish that don't cooperate. So it appears this octopus, this individual octopus, has put together a hunting posse, and it keeps the fish
it's a
in
bully.
line. They hunt together and they eat together.
Is that like, what was the thing from the last, sometimes you need people who can inflict violence or something? I can't remember the quote now.
But it's not punching the fish to hurt them. It's punching the fish just to keep them moving. Because they pointed out that some of these fish were like sit-in-place predators where they get still and they wait. But the octopus ain't about that.
That's not how the octopus...
It just smacks it. And then when the fish identify prey, trapped in like down under rocks and stuff, the octopus can get in there. And
they can all eat together.
no. Only the fish or the octopus who gets it eats it all by itself. They don't share.
Oh.
But they work together.
And sometimes the fish get them, and the octopus is apparently okay with that. It's a meritocracy on the seafloor.
I thought that I thought that it was like the octopus would like use its beak to eat stuff, and there would be, fish detritus, and then the fish would eat that.
Now that might be true.
Yeah.
Although you got to be a brave fish to be swimming around in there, right? To get nibbled on. And this little fella's doing a lot of nibbling, but not out in the wild where it normally would, and that is making people angry.
Judge rules Nibi, the orphaned beaver, can stay with the rescue team. We should all be on the same team. The rescue team was not super against releasing her to the wild, but the problem is the time of year, and she has never, beavered before.
Yeah, like releasing them when there's less food in the environment and they've never had to hunt. That seems maybe cruel. Maybe wait till the spring.
And so the rescue team wanted to release her, but also monitor her to be sure that she would behave normally, because she was raised since she was an orphan. So this might be an exception rather than the rule. It's like the reason the law is there is to prevent people from adopting these things as pets, but this is exceptional circumstances. So
You also kind of got the feeling that they just liked having her around the office.
yeah.
She looked really good on our postcards for Christmas.
And normally we would end the episode with this story, but it was kind of a downer this year.
Fat Bear Week delayed after a large bear kills a rival bear.
You sent this to me earlier this week, and I was like, no!
It was live streamed. You can watch it. And the winning bear drugged the other bear carcass on shore. So we don't know what the disagreement was about.
They said, this is the time of year when they're trying to fatten up so they can go hibernate. So that's why they get so fat. And they're like, it's very rare for another bear to kill each other like this.
Yeah, and it wasn't like there was territory thing, right? They were just out in the water.
Yeah, they were looking for salmon.
Maybe the one bear was like throwing claw signals under the water. Rival gang.
I've had enough of your crap.
And here's a follow-up. We talked about this fella who was just out there doing some crazy sheep genetic manipulation, like really high-level stuff, purely so he could trophy hunt them. And he has now been found guilty.
Montana man gets 6 months in prison for cloning a giant sheep and breeding it. Dude is 80 years old. The thing from the judge, though, read what the judge said. The judge's quote is...
That's his quote. Do you remember where it was in the story? Was it this?
It's so small.
No. The judge feels like he gave him a light sentence at 6 months, but the dude's like, I'm 80. I guess I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to make up for this. So, but the judge said something along the lines of, it's like, you don't get to modify the DNA of animals on Earth. And it's like, Judge, I've got some bad news for you.
What about the plants?
Yeah.
Because
They've done a Punnett square?
Didn't the Supreme Court allow that?
So I really, it really seems to me what this guy did wrong was more clerical. I mean, there's an ethical consideration here, trophy hunting, but it seems like it's more clerical than.
But this is
Island of Dr. Moreau.
This is like a super sheep, right? So it's going to outbreed and outcompete.
Well, it's just the one,
survive.
And he bred it, and so.
Yeah, but I mean, if it gets out, is that thing viable to breed with other sheep? Because now you got a kind of super sheep. Yeah, we shouldn't be playing God in those ways, but we definitely are.
Yeah.
It's just that if you do it through university, it's okay. But if you're some 80-year-old guy out just with a lot of land.
We can't stop Monsanto corn from breeding, and that is a breach of copyright, apparently.
There's also a thought we have to think about, like animal cruelty and stuff, right? The sheep should be out there just being sheep, and instead they're in breeding facilities and genetic labs and then being killed for sport.
Am I even a sheep? I'm 63% wolf at this point.
And this one was the best one I could come up with as a good story to end on, a feel-good animal story.
This goat hopped into a Newfoundland marathon and won a medal.
They allow kids to compete?
So he is a very social goat, they say it, and the marathon went right by his house, And as soon as, like, he waited for a while, but he figured, hey, I got to be a part of this.
I feel like every goat I've ever met has been really mean, so I would be a little nervous if I saw a goat join me on a trail.
It's a good instinct on the goat to survive a zombie apocalypse. I mean,
He's like, I better go with the herd. Everybody else is going this way.
You can tell what a miserable place New England is in terms, like, why would you do a marathon there? Like how that
It's all gray.
crossing guard is dressed.
Yeah.
I guess that's fun when you've worked up some body heat.
Yeah. The goat was happy.
fabulous.
They gave him a medal.
Can we put the genetically engineered super goat in the marathon?
He crushes everybody's
Just
time.
murders all the runners. All right.
That's it.
Thanks for hanging out, chat.
We will see you guys in the next one. Store.level1text.com. Forum.level1text.com. Bye.